Good evening and welcome to Genesis Men Hour. I am your guest host tonight, Janelle Hocker, filling in for Wendell Ellis. He is out on business today, so he asked for me to fill in, so you have to work with me today. This is my second time doing this, but again, my name is Janelle Hocker, founder, director of Step Higher Educational Tours. We've been around for the past 12 years exposing kids to higher education. We start with grade 6th grade all the way up to the 12th grade. We work with them getting into college, scholarships, workshops, and different things. But tonight, we're going to be talking to our special guest from the Cincinnati Public School Board. We have 2 incumbent and 1 non-incumbent. And just so our viewers will know what a school board member actually does, their job title, a school board sets educational goals and establishes policy for the school. System based upon state laws and community values. Perhaps the most important responsibility of a school board member is to hire a superintendent, and it will employ a superintendent and a treasurer, and hold them responsible for managing the district in accordance with school board policies. So this evening we have, like I said, 2 incumbent and 1 non-incumbent, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, and we're going to start with the gentleman to my left.
My name is Alex Kuhns. I'm a candidate for the 2011 Cincinnati Public School Board of Education race. I am an instructor at Cincinnati State College, and I'm also a graduate student at Lindsey Wilson College pursuing my Master's of Education. I've been working in my community of Northside for the past 2 years as a volunteer, as chair of their education committee, and also chair of the local school decision-making committee at Chase Elementary, where I get to work with this show's producer, Roger Horton. Thanks, Roger, for having us. And I'm proud to be running on a slate with Eve and Chris Nelms here.
Thank you. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Love to. Thank you very much. My name is Eve Bolton, and I am an incumbent school board member. Actually, this year, president of the school board. I'm a graduate of CPS, a proud graduate of CPS, I might add, and indeed have taught school for about 36 years and have now retired. And the reality is, some 4 years ago, Mr. Nelms and I ran for school board largely because the community felt that the schools needed redirection, and they needed also to come together in a collaborative way so that we could perform and do well and serve our children to the best of our abilities. And we're very proud of what we've been able to do over the last 4 years, but the work is not done. And we are excited about being able to perhaps be returned to help finish that work and move us from an effective status to get us on a path to excellence. And we really would welcome having Alex alongside of us to help us keep moving the district.
And I am Chris Nelms, currently a school board member running for re-election this year. As President Bolton alluded to, we ran 4 years ago with the promise to move the district in a direction that was not only proper but appropriate, and we've done that. We've done a lot of things since that time with initiatives, with reform, and as we continue to do the work, we'll need your support, because one of our favorite mottos is that we work for you. I'm a product of Cincinnati Public School, graduating from Bloom, Sands, and Taft High School, going on to Central State, and coming back to the community to work in various capacities, not only as a teacher, as a coach, as a prevention specialist, as an athletic director, and now as a school board member. And I'm real pleased that I can serve, and I'm also happy that Alex has joined our slate, and I think that we can continue to make a difference and make the progress that's required. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, you know we have some questions for you.
Yes,
ma'am. The viewers want to know about why are you running for school board? And I would like to start with Ms. Bolton. Ladies always first.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I need all the benefit I can get sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm running for school board in part for the same reason I ran 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, I felt very strongly that the district was floundering. I felt very strongly that there wasn't a good rapport between the administrative team and the board itself. I felt strongly that the community needed to make demands of our school district and expect excellence from the district. And so what we did is we ran together and we offered a pledge and a promise that I think we've kept. And the reality is, I think the board has become very cohesive. I think the board is a very dynamic board with very strong individuals on it with various backgrounds, but all very committed to what they think is best for children. And I think as long as we put children first, we will all be able to move forward together. And one of the other things that was important is that I knew 4 years ago that all 6 of our unions were facing a contract reopener the first year I was on the board. And then also we knew that the master contracts were going to be up within 2 years. And having been a teachers union president in a suburban district for a number of years, I felt that I could lend some expertise. And indeed, I am proud to say, with Mr. Nelms' help and the guidance from the board and the demands from the community, we have the most progressive teachers contract, certainly in the state of Ohio, probably one of the 10 most progressive ones in the country. We have 50% of the evaluation for teachers is dependent upon student results and achievement, but more particularly, we achieved those contracts working together. This was not imposed by Columbus. It wasn't forced down anybody's throat. It took a good year and a half of tough negotiating, but we arrived there the best way, together, on behalf of the children. So that's why I want to run, and that's why I hope we can keep moving.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Nelms.
Well, it might be a bit cliche, but I would have to say, like every board member, we run because we feel we can make a difference. And part of what President Bolton alluded to, again, is the fact that we was really intent on moving educational gains forward. We've done that by becoming the most effective urban school district in the state. And so those gains speak for themselves, but personally, I wanted to include not just educational policies, but as well as social policies and community policies. One of the things that I'm proud of is that I always felt there was a need to engage the community who are our constituents who we work for, and to hear a voice and to be representative of that voice. And in my tenure, me and Eve have done some great things that move beyond policy. For instance, we initiated the first all boys and all males initiative to make sure that that subgroup was given the added needed support to keep up with the rest of the district. One of the things we also did was, for the first time, we acknowledged all our former student athletes and created a district-wide athletic hall of fame. And this would be the 3rd year that we honor those that performed and participated and represented this district. So I ran for school board because I wanted to make a difference. I ran for school board because I have children that graduated from this very district, and I continue to run for school board because I have grandchildren that needs to be a part of a district that's very progressive, that educate them well, and that they will not only become a byproduct of what I became, but also will continue to get educated and come back and give back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janelle. The reason I'm running for the school board is because I believe in the principles of democracy. I think that we should have a representative board, and through my work in the community, I saw a group of people that weren't being represented. I taught at the Lighthouse Youth Crisis Center as their education specialist for a year and a half, and I saw children who were runaway homeless youth, either not enrolled in school, suspended from school, expelled from school, or too sad to get up and go. So I saw kids who CPS was not working for. As a product of magnet schools myself, I'm a graduate of Walnut Hills High School. I attended SCPA and Shield School as well. I saw some of the best schools that we have that engage the communities, and a lot of the neighborhood schools that these children attended, and like the one that I've volunteered at, Chase Elementary, they're not quite up to the same par as magnet schools. And so I wanted to advocate for the students and families that are part of those neighborhood schools, and that's why my campaign platform has been a voice for your neighborhood. As a board member of the Northside Community Council, I've come to understand how active a part the community council can play and how we can bring people together in order to form partnerships between schools, families, and communities. And I think that that's something that we must continue to do on the Board of Education, which Eve and Chris have been doing a great job of already. So I'm proud to be running on the team with them.
Janelle, you can consider us to be the 3 CPS musketeers.
but I am going to interrupt because both of these gentlemen mentioned all of their schools that they attended. So for equal opportunity here, I am going to tell you Sailor Park, College Hill, Schwab Junior High, and proudly an Aiken Falcon. Thank you very much.
Well, it also speaks to the fact that we can relate to the experience of the current students in this district.
Right.
And I'm a true believer that if you're not a part of something, if you haven't experienced it in totality,
Right.
by being a part of an intricate part of it, that you can't fully understand
Right.
the experience of the students in this district. Now you can come in and do a work, but not to the totality of
Right.
understanding and being able to relate, and we bring that.
That's great. I worked for a few years at a charter school in Cincinnati. I'm not sure if they have partnered with Cincinnati Public Schools, but it was in California in Bond Hill. So I can relate to what you're saying, trying to make sure that you're passing the right policies and working with the schools and helping our kids so that they can be successful. And I do know that the graduation rate is much better than it used to be, and African Americans are graduating just as well as the Caucasians are graduating. So, and I'm passionate about education. We're all like preaching to the choir.
Oh,
We
yeah.
go all day
It's a
long.
love fest.
It's the
So
key.
I'm just, and I'm just passionate about it. But just for the viewers, so that they know that on November the 2nd, that they need to vote.
November the 8th.
No, I'm sorry, November the 8th.
We'll make sure
I'm
you got the
sorry.
dates right so you can vote.
I'm sorry, I won't
Okay.
be voting in Cincinnati, Ohio, but I'll tell my friends
Oh,
to
wait,
make
would
sure
you
that they
please?
vote.
Okay.
But I have another question. What are your specific views on No Child Left Behind Act? What are your views on that? And we can start with.
I'll let Eve feel that one. 'Cause
Okay, ladies first again.
she has the most.
I
probably the most
got you,
input.
okay.
Well,
No Child Left Behind, I believe, was passed largely because the high school diploma began to mean nothing in many school districts. And when that diploma lost its credibility, or when indeed we started to believe that not all children were getting a fair shake, both the national government and the state government began to think a lot about that, as did this district. And the reality is, between Senator Kennedy and President Bush, they created No Child Left Behind. The vision was great. Leave no child left behind, please. No, don't do that. The reality is, though, that what began to happen was that it became an accountability test instead of best practice of teaching and learning. And it began to be test-oriented versus education-oriented. So I've been glad that we had it. I think it forced everybody to really value each child again, kind of an old school concept. But the reality was all of the parameters of No Child Left Behind put a terrible amount of pressure on just testing and not best practice teaching and learning. So I've been very glad that the Obama administration has relieved us of some of those pressures without losing the vision of every child matters. And indeed, one of the things that I think we should say about Cincinnati Public is that we confronted, as you mentioned, Janelle, the graduation rate. And indeed, our graduation rate is equal regarding Caucasians and African Americans. More particularly, it's over 80%, which is pretty remarkable for an urban district. And part of that is a focus on each child. But more particularly, what we focused on, something that Alex has raised the issue, and there's a lot of work yet to be done on it, and that is that we looked at our 16 lowest achieving schools. And as we looked at our lowest achieving schools, we've created a program with the help of the University of Virginia and our own people inside, our Deputy Superintendent, Laura Mitchell, and our Superintendent, Mary Ronan. And in doing this, what we did is we created something more than accountability, but something that allowed us to focus attention schoolhouse by schoolhouse by schoolhouse. It doesn't mean it was the best practice, but at least we as an urban district confronted where we were weak. As Mr. Nelms has mentioned, we're focusing on young African American males. If African American males would achieve to the level of African American females, we probably could reach excellent status. So you focus diligently and collaboratively on where your greatest problems are and make solutions happen.
Okay, thank you.
Can I talk about No Child Left Behind?
Yes.
I first heard about this act about 5 or 6 years ago when I was studying at Ohio University to be a social studies teacher. And it sounded like a great idea, as Ms. Bolton said. No Child Left Behind. Who wouldn't want that? It's a great name. It was marketed to be the savior of education. However, what it is, in effect, is a test at the end of the school year to see how well the child has done. And we hold teachers and schools and everyone that works within them accountable to that test. There's nothing on the front end to say, let's make sure they don't get left behind from the get-go.
Right.
There's no pre-assessment that's done. And to keep in line with the vision